That question session will be due to limited time for both Mr. Nuruddin Rizman and also Mr. Fadl Sulaiman. So if you have a question for anyone, please just raise your hand and ask your question. Okay, we'll start with...
Perhaps you could go some slides back, because there is a condition for this relationship.
Which slide?
No? Forward again.
Fourth?
Was your first one one forward? Yeah, that was one. That was one. Yeah? Yeah, the question and answer.
Yes.
I don't understand what you mean by as long as Islamic principles are properly adhered to.
Yeah. We will find that in some cases there is a limitation, which is that we do not have a good relationship with people who at the same time we find that they are in aggression against Islam. So in that case, it cannot be the case. Right? In that case, there cannot be I cannot, in the Second World War, I cannot start to have a good friendship with one of the German officers who is fighting against my country. But in all other cases, I could. Right? So this is a condition. And the second one, and I'm very thankful that you asked this, is because the fact that it states there, as long as Islamic principles are properly adhered to, I also, it implies from my personal stance, criticism that regarding the Islamic community. Because when I look at the Quran, we find that there is no room for discrimination. But sometimes we find that the people do. From the Quran, there is no stance for us to say, my country, or because of my nationality, I am better than you. But sometimes the people do. So therefore, I also call upon the people, and myself, of course, to make sure that we, as Muslims by itself, adhere to these principles. Because the relationship is the act of the Muslim to the other person. It is not the relationship that the non-Muslim has with the Quran itself. Until the Muslim acts in accordance with the Islamic principles, then it will be good. If a Muslim is bigot or he has a racist mindset, which is not allowed by Islam, then he will not have a good relationship. So, as Muslims, we should also look at the verses that we were coming across and make sure that when we are looking in the mirror, we should not only be in a session like this and think, yeah, there were some non-Muslims in the room and now they know how good we are. No, no. We need to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, are my actions and are my deeds reflecting these Islamic principles? If not, that is something that we as a community and each one of us should work on. So thank you for your question, because it allowed me to emphasize on that more.
Okay. Questions? Yes.
So this question probably could give rise to a whole presentation by itself. But could either one of you quickly comment on what is the relationship between Islam and science, concretely in respect with the origin of the universe, evolution, and then things that might conflict with creation?
Well, I agree with the statement that it's a lecture by itself.
Yeah.
Islam, well, the Quran is not a book of science. But the Quran does not contradict with one scientific fact. And here comes the problem when people mix between Darwinism and evolution. Darwinism is not science. Darwinism is an ideology. And Muslims do not accept Darwinism. Like many other scientists who do not accept Darwinism. But evolution is something different. Evolution is a scientific theory. If evolution is ever proven, I'm telling you, today, evolution does not contradict with one verse in the Quran. It contradicts with some interpretations of the Quran. So it contradicts with scholars' opinions, but it doesn't contradict with one verse in the Quran. I have some sheikhs, I have some scholars of Islam who are evolutionists, but they are not Darwinists. And the problem here when people mix between both of them. So this is something that I wanted to tell you. Also, even evolutionists and even Darwinists, they say that language is by no means that it went through evolution, because they discovered from all their species and all the researchers that man started to talk at a certain moment, 140,000 years ago. So language was not through evolution. We have a verse in the Quran that says that God taught Adam all the names. So he taught Adam the names at a certain point. So I'm telling you, I'm since more than 2 years now, because I counsel also people who may, some Muslims who may leave Islam to other religions or to atheism. So especially those who leave to atheism, most of them are because of the confusion between Darwinism and evolution. And when they see that evolutionist Muslims, they have verses in the Quran that support them. Okay? They come back to Islam. Those who are mixed up because of this. So I'm telling you, I'm through this since a long time, and I guarantee this for you, that Islam does not contradict with science when it's a fact.
Also, if I could just comment on it a little bit. A lot of times you'll see that this question arises because we look at Islam as a religion, and we look at history of the region that we are in, and when we see that religion and science, when they met, there was a clash. We will find in history of this country, in this part of Europe, that people that used to be very active in science were persecuted or killed or tortured, or even sent to flee because of the religions which had power at that point in time. Right? Therefore, if those scientists fled away from Europe because they were scientists, where did they flee? They fled to the Islamic communities and the Islamic, the places where Islam was flourishing at the time. Because Islam in itself, different than what we know of some of our other religions in this region, does not have a negative stance against science, but a positive. It's from an Islamic perspective, anybody who is in this room who is studying science, we say, thumbs up, go and study, look at the creation, check everything in the creation, make an analysis of everything in the creation on a scientific way, because in the end, we believe that the creation is a sign of the Creator. And because we believe it strongly. You know, it's not a joke. It's not a manipulation that we're saying it. We believe it. Therefore, we believe we do not have to fear science. We think it is a good thing for us to gain knowledge, to help humanity. And science is one of those. So Islam is positive.
Actually, God said in the Quran, walk through the earth and try to understand how the creation started. He didn't say, try to find in the Quran how the creation started. Which means that if you want to understand how the creation started, walk through the earth, go to the Galapagos, go everywhere, collect species, collect fossils, and go to your labs and try to find. The first verse in the Quran that descended on the Prophet, the first term, the first word in the Quran that descended on the Prophet was read. And that's an incomplete sentence. Because if I tell you read, you will ask me read what? So it says read. Read everything. Seek knowledge. So the first 2 lines in the Quran, they have the word read twice, they have the word knowledge 3 times, and they have the word pen. At a time when the people who received this were totally illiterate, most of them. And that caused a paradigm shift in the Arab mind itself. It caused a paradigm shift in the Arab mind. And within few decades, Arabs became what? The pioneers in many of the branches of science. The closest advisor to Saladin, you know Saladin? The Muslim king who defeated the Crusaders and returned back Palestine to the Muslim world. His closest advisor was a Jewish scientist, Rabbi Moshe ibn Maimon. It's called Maimonides. One of the most famous Jewish scientists all through the Jewish history. Because he was a scientist, should be given high ranks. So the issue is, also one of the things that Muslims believe, is that the reason why God created the universe is for knowledge. God says in the Quran, in Surah Talaq, it says, God created the heavens and the earth, and the command of God is descending between the heavens and the earth, so that you may know that God is the most powerful. So is to know. So you have to know and to seek knowledge. Thank you.
More questions? Those who didn't ask, please.
I have a question. Actually, I was in the backstage, so I didn't look at the whole presentation, but hopefully I will look at it some other time, because we are recording it. My question is directed to Brother Suleiman. While I was going into the room and going out, I've seen the word just or justice in Islam. And my question is, which is most my non-Muslim friends and neighbors usually ask me, is why capital punishment is just in Islam? Is it? Do you think it is just, or is it?
Perfect. That's a nice question. And I was asked this question 2 days ago in Louvain-la-Neuve. Actually, I want to ask the Muslims here, what do you think? Does Islam allow Muslims to waive the capital punishment? Those who say no, raise your hand. Islam allows Muslims to waive the capital punishment or to apply the capital punishment. What do you think? Apply? Those say apply capital punishment, raise your hands. Islam encourages waiving the capital punishment. The verse is crystal clear in the Quran. It says, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth, and an ear for an ear, and a nose for a nose, and wounds are retribution one by another. But the one who forgives is receiving atonement from Allah by forgiving. So if you forgive, and if you say that the heirs of the deceased, of the one who was killed, if they say, we are waiving the capital punishment, and we don't care if he gets killed, or we don't want him to get killed, okay? Then this is an atonement. God will forgive. So Islam encourages people to waive the capital punishment, but it's about jurisdiction. It is the right of who to decide. It is not the right of the government to decide. It is the right of the family of the deceased to decide about it. Because if they are not satisfied, then when this person is out, they will kill him. And when they kill him, the violence will continue. So it is up to the family of the murdered person to decide if they forgive or not. So yes, capital punishment is a severe punishment, of course. Cutting off the hand for a thief is a severe punishment, of course. And the one who doesn't say that it's severe is probably crazy. It is severe, but it is just. Saying severe doesn't mean that it's not just. And some punishments may not be severe, but may not be just. If the law does not allow, or if the law does not forbid breaking the red light, if you go through the red light, and the law here doesn't forbid it, if the policeman stops you and makes you pay €1 only, that's not just. It's not severe, but it's not just because the law doesn't say so. If the law says, if you break the red light, you will pay €1,000. This is severe, but it's just since you know, and since it is in the law. So if the law says that the punishment of a certain crime is a severe punishment, then it is just even if it's severe. This is the issue. And I really wonder why honest people who don't steal and don't kill are always worried about what happens to killers and thieves. These punishments are not for us. It's for those who come to kill us or those who come to rob us. But we're all the time discussing, why will there be punished? Excuse me. The issue, there's so many things to be said about the Sharia punishment because they are severe. But they are just. Because they keep the security, they keep the society secure. This is the ultimate goal of the Sharia, to keep the society secure and safe.
More questions?
The question is to Dean. We know that we are the minority group as Muslims here. As we know, in Europe and not only in Iran, there is a lot of laws like niqab, hijab, of meat. How can we deal with laws which comes from parliament as organization? It's not a single relationship. How can we deal with this parliament? Parliament is how can we deal as Muslims?
We find ourselves faced with new laws. For instance, in some countries, we find that there is laws on people wearing a hijab. And how should we respond to this, right? What we need to do is one of the hardest and one of the most important things is we need to unite and we need to stop discussing the details and face the problems. What we need to do as Muslims in the Netherlands, as Muslims in Western Europe, as Muslims in the world, is to make sure that we have, to a certain extent, a strength which is suitable for the situation. We are a minority in this country, which basically means we don't make the rules. So we shouldn't wake up tomorrow thinking that's going to be any different. But we are facing a system which does not have a dictatorship. We are living in a system which allows people to influence the way that rules are created. And some rules are waived. So what we need to do is make sure that we organize and unite ourselves to be able to play our part in the reality that we are facing. Now sometimes we find that a lot of people are having a lot of debates on what our opinion is about this reality. It is like you're in the sea and you're debating that it is better to be on the land. Now, if I'm in the sea, I would say it's better to be on the land, but it doesn't mean I'm going to start walking because I will drown. Right? So, we are in a situation, we need to organize, we need to stop discussing minor details amongst each other, which are tearing us apart. We need to get rid of having our ummah separated through ethnic lines. This is a Moroccan mosque, this is a Turkish mosque, and they don't work together. No. Even when it comes to religious matters, that we find that it is a confrontation that we have with secularism, we can even work together with Jews and with Christians if there is a common obstacle and if there's a common gain. So work together and make sure that the influence that we could have, that we should have it. Right? We should not talk too much on what we... That's actually the end of the sentence. We should not talk too much about what we want to do but can't do. We should start talking about what we can do but which we don't. And that's the challenge that we are facing right now.
Okay. Now it's my turn. I would like to thank both speakers for coming from very far away. One of them comes from Egypt. So this is from a small souvenir from our beloved University of Twente. There are many similar things. So thank you all for coming, and inshallah we will see you again in our new event. Goodbye. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.